What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of The Pre-Scout here on Wager Talk TV. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on X. And we are live at 10 p.m. Eastern every single night of the week. Well, Monday through Friday at least. And guys, as you found out last night on the show, we're going to be having guests on to break down games, to look at picks, to look at futures. But we're also going to have guests on to just kind of talk and look at games as a whole, look at teams as a whole, interviews as well. And it was super exciting to have Gabe Morency on to talk just everything that he's experienced through his broadcasting career, stories he had, in the hockey world, in the media world. And he gave us all kinds of futures, all kinds of bets, some win totals and all that good stuff. So we're super excited about that. We're off to an unbelievable start to the NHL season, guys. It really has been a great start to the season. So for any of you guys that want to jump on board at wagertalk.com, you can see in the bottom left corner, wt.buzz/AM is the link to get all of my plays, all of my best bets. And code NHL200, promo code NHL200 is what you guys can use to take $200 off my NHL full season pass. But because there are no games on Friday, today we have decided to do another interview, another chat here. And look, as much as you guys know, I'm a Montreal Canadiens fan, and I'm always having my fun, poking fun at the Maple Leafs. They're a team that is in Canada, gets broadcasted where I live. I can't get them off my social media feeds. So I figured I would talk to somebody that loves his team as much as I love my team, the Montreal Canadiens. So we're going to have Zach Phillips coming on here. He's from the LeafsNation.com, also does a ton of work with Daily Faceoff, producing with The Sheet with Jeff Merrick. So all kinds of great stuff, and look forward to picking his brain, talking about the Leafs, talking about his experience producing The Sheet with Jeff Merrick, and also looking at what he does with the Leafs Nation. Of course, he does pregame shows, postgame shows, and all that good stuff. We're going to talk about Mitch Marner and how they will replace him with probably not just one or two players, but collectively, how they will replace the production of Mitch Marner. So super excited to get Zach in with us. We're going to talk with him about all things Toronto Maple Leafs. Won't keep him too long. We definitely want to get his take. And of course, I know I'm going to hear it from him. The Montreal Canadiens take their first loss of the season, and they played last night against the Toronto Maple Leafs. So I'm sure I'm going to hear all about that from him. We got the lineup to look over here in a bit, but let's not waste any time. Let's bring him in. Zach, you and I have chatted before. Thought I'd have you on because you know what? As much as I'm a Montreal Canadiens passionate, Maple Leafs fans are passionate as well, man. Thanks for coming on with me.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. And I heard you off the top there. No, I'm not coming on here to rub anything in your face. I was actually talking to another Habs fan earlier. I was like, the Habs are concerning. I think we can unite together and kind of dump on the Sens here together maybe a little bit. And we'll do that in unison. I'm not as high on the Sens. I don't know how they'll do. But the Habs, I am concerned about the Habs, and watching last night and the result doesn't indicate anything for me for what the season will be like for them. They got a good team there. It is a concerning thing to have in the Atlantic Division, given especially how open everything else is.
Well, I was saying on a show I did last night that let's be honest here, the Montreal Canadiens are a team that didn't really create a lot of chances over the last few years, but then when they did, they would capitalize. It'd be like no shots on goal, no goal scoring chances for the whole game, and then they would score. That's kind of how they won games, relying on goaltending. Back to the Carey Price days, of course. Yesterday, I found it was a bit different. Like, the Habs created all kinds of chances, and then they looked awful with them. Like, Slavkovsky had 10 shot attempts. 10 shot attempts. This is a guy that never used to shoot, but there wasn't one shot attempt that he had that I was really like, oh, he's going to score there. But from a Maple Leafs perspective, what did you see? Obviously, first regular season game. You can watch the preseason all you want, but the real deal is much different. What did you see in game one?
Yeah, it just felt a little like loose, lackadaisical there a little bit. I think some of the guys you started to see take form. I thought Nick Wall looked pretty good. He wasn't like a standout, but I thought you could kind of see him getting a little bit comfortable in there. I thought Bobby McMahon looked good. Matthews and Nylander to me kind of looked like they were still out for Sunday skate a little bit. I don't know what the hell happened there, if they just forgot that the season started or what was going on, but it was a slow start from those guys, and yet somehow they still get their cookies, still get a bunch of points. In general, though, I do think that we saw the first inkling of like this more well-rounded team. Like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Dakota Joshua and what we saw out of Lorentz and these guys in the bottom six was unbelievable and every team's got to watch out. But watching last night and watching the way that, you know, the third and fourth lines forechecked and created pressure, they didn't really give anything up in the defensive zone, but they also had the ability to move the puck up ice in transition, was something that's kind of lacked in the past. It's kind of been one or the other. I think about the Kyle Dubas days when it was like Dennis Malgin, Yarncroke, who's still here, but he was kind of one of the features that was in the bottom six. And, you know, all these other small skilled guys in your bottom six where it was like, you got to move fast. You got to be playing transition. And the forechecking, hard, heavy hockey was like out the window. And then we almost flipped the other way where it was like, our bottom six can't skate. Like, we can't get up the ice. And then last night, I felt like we were a little bit in between, which I think is kind of where you need to be. Having Scott Lawton out really throws that whole dynamic of basically your second and your third lines out of whack there a little bit, because, you know, you're moving guys to center who aren't playing center, and you're moving Nick Waugh down to the fourth line and bumping people around and bringing people into the lineup who probably shouldn't be. But all in all, I think we saw some signs, early signs, let's say, of like a better, well-rounded team than we've seen in years past.
Nothing made it worse for me, as I'm here in Halifax, and so most people here are Montreal fans, Toronto fans, some Boston, I would say, and then you've got your couple people that are Senators fans, we'll say. All my buddies are Leaf fans, though, so I'm watching. I hosted, of course. I'm the Habs fan, and all my buddies come over. They're Leaf fans. And my friend that's a Leafs fan, he pretty much bets Matthews to score every single game. And so not only is he happy to see that empty net goal, he is like celebrating the empty net goal like he just won the Stanley Cup himself. Absolutely rubbing it into me, and then just so fired up. He not only bets him, but he puts him in parlays. So he needed that to cash other tickets. I don't know. But then, of course, he gets the empty net goal. Even when Matthews isn't sniping, he's still finding a way to get people their goal scoring there. But, I mean, true or false, this is the deepest roster potentially that the Maple Leafs have had in several years.
True. I said it all summer, and I think a lot of people were saying, like, cope, that's cope. But I do genuinely believe it. The team did not get better. Like, they didn't add more skill. They didn't add more talent to this team. You saw a lot of teams around the NHL do that this summer. But I think the Leafs became a better team. You know, like, it's the stupid, cheesy way to put it, but I do believe that. I think that when you look at this line, there's an identity. There's an ability for all four lines to play up and down the ice. There's not just the guy who plays defensive zone draws and that's it, and he can't stick handle the puck. Like, you have some ability, you have some versatility throughout. I think this is the best defensive group that we've seen. They're dating back to last year when Tree Living started to really kind of form that group and put these guys together. 1 through 6, I think you're the strongest. And then nobody knows what's happening with Joseph Woll. I mean, wish him the best here, and not going to speculate on that. But with that said, we have zero clue when he comes back. That's the main area of concern as of right now, just because Anthony Stolarz is a guy who's never traditionally been the one. I think a lot of Leafs fans were happy because he got paid and he got locked up, but I don't think any of us really feel like that was a true number one contract or AAV, so you're not like overly concerned. But what happens after? Like, Caden Primo's backing him up. So
you don't want him. You want him as your AHL goalie. He is an unbelievable AHL goalie.
Right.
And whenever he goes to the pros, he's like a whole different. He gets the yips. I don't know how else to say it. The guy gets the yips. I watch every Habs game. Like, it's weird. Like, going from last year to this year, one thing Habs fans can say is that Dobish is more reliable. Primo was pretty much an automatic L. It was like a night off for the fans, a night off for the team. So I don't know what's going on with Primo getting picked up by you guys, but how much is he even going to play, do you think?
So I do think that part of the reason is that he is going to be a guy who allows Hildeby to play in the AHL. Like, I think they want him to get starts. They don't want him just sitting on the bench and backing up in Toronto. That's my inclination of
Good
the
point.
situation, is that they'll just send him to the AHL. You play. Primo can back up here. Like, he's, as you just said, he's played both sides of it. He's played pro games. He's played in the AHL. You know what you're going to get out of him when you send him there if he goes there. And then he's a guy that can just sit on your NHL bench, and you'll probably feel pretty comfortable if Stolarz is your guy in net and he's the guy waiting. I'm interested to see what happens come first back-to-back, because I feel like we may get a Hildeby recall, but then I don't know. Like, I'm not even going to pretend to know how this cap situation is going to work out, because Brandon Pridham's got it down to like the last penny that you could possibly have it. But I feel like we may see Hildeby come up. I don't know who they move or how they get guys down and out, whatever. I think Easton Cowan being here might help a little bit, because he's up on the NHL roster right now. He can go down. I think that makes room. I don't know. But I feel like we're not really going to see much of Primo. But I mean, kind of even just to wrap that, like, when Joseph Woll does come back with your goaltending, even the Hildeby, Primo, Akhtiamov, I don't know who else is back there that could possibly play. The goaltending situation aside, like, I do think this is the deepest roster this team's had in a long time, to be honest with you.
Well, I put on the thumbnail, how will the Maple Leafs replace Mitch Marner? Number one, I thought, hey, that's pretty good clickbait. And number two, when you look at it, I mean, the Michelli, the Dakota Joshua, getting Waugh as well, like multiple players. I mean, we can go down the list about different guys that could step up. But the whole thing people said was that they're not going to replace him with one guy, which as much as it's an obvious statement, it's very true. And look, hockey is a game where it's not like in basketball where you can just say, all right, Luka Doncic, go out there and drop 45 for us tonight. You're going to win us the ball game. Because unfortunately, you might have your fourth line play like 7-8 minutes in a really, really big game, but they're still going to be out there for 7 or 8 minutes. And you need to be able to have depth on your roster. I'll tell you what, even though it was preseason, watching Scott Lawton light up the Habs in the preseason, I hated seeing that. And then my buddies that are Leaf fans, I always joke that if Nick Robertson played every game like it was a preseason game, he'd be winning the Hart Trophy, because he just scores every preseason. But like yesterday, he had a wide open chance, and I was like, oh man, if that was the preseason, he's scoring there for sure. But this
preseason, or if he got scrapped the game before, that's the other automatic.
A chip on his shoulder. He just has to have the chip on his shoulder. But they do look really deep, and heaviest roster. They come out with that stat. So as long as it doesn't mean slowest roster, the average weight, heaviest roster, you got to see that. But you know what, though? Having that goaltending behind them and then getting that depth scoring, they lose Mitch Marner. They still have Tavares. They still have Nylander. They've got Matthews. I'm a big Matthew Nyes fan, even as a Canadians fan. Like, I think Nyes is great. I think when he came up with the Maple Leafs, he was like the perfect type of player that they needed. Like, you know what fans are always saying, like, oh, the top guys are scared to go into the corners and stuff. Like, Nyes seems to be like a kind of a sandpaper great player, like a skill player, but he's not really scared. Maybe sandpaper is kind of an insult to use towards a player like that. Like, he's so skilled, but he's also willing to go into the dirty areas. I remember that fight he had. Who was it against?
White Cloud.
In Vegas. Yeah, exactly. White Cloud. I mean, he went into that game knowing exactly what he wanted to do. But for the sake of the show, I have to ask you, like, what's your take overall on the whole Marner stuff? Like, from my perspective, I got to say, I'm getting sick and tired of fans tweeting out that they don't miss Marner. It's like somebody telling everybody every day, like, no, I barely ever think about my ex-girlfriend. Like, she was awful. But you're just talking about them every single day. Like, if you keep talking about her, she might be on your mind. I think it's going to work out for both teams. But what were your thoughts on the whole Marner situation? Somebody had to go. I got to say, somebody had to go. The definition of insanity, we all know what it is. Some change had to happen, right?
Yeah. And look, I'm going to say I'm also guilty of doing the tweets and stuff. I think personally I do it more so for fun because I enjoy it. And I know people get riled up when you throw something out there, throwing a he was a controversial guy. So you say anything about him, and like half the fan base has got pitchforks saying, I'm going to kill you. And then the other half is saying, we hate that guy. Thank God. So it's just insane to see the reactions. And I do see the same stuff you see. But look, to kind of piggyback off of those people who are tweeting that, like, I am kind of like glad to see it just come to an end and see him gone, because the last few years was really uncomfortable. Like, I don't know how familiar you are, the audience is, with kind of the situation that went on here. Being in the Toronto media and covering the team every day, doing the post-game show and stuff, like, I saw it firsthand. He's one of those guys who says, I don't read anything, I don't see anything, I don't watch anything, and yet he sees every single thing. Like, there's not one thing that goes by his team, his agent, his security guard, his dad. Like, they all see it. They all respond to it. Like, they're all involved in all of it. And it was just this dark cloud that hung over the team. Like, take the play aside, it was ugly the whole time. And unfortunately, that mixes into the play and mixes how you judge the player, because I think a lot of people kind of confuse the two. But I think at the end of the day, when it's like an everyday thing where his camp is going to war with the city and going to war with the fan base, and then he goes into the media and does the stupid stuff, he's like, I'm sorry, he was maybe the worst media trained player of all time.
Call himself a god. He's like, we get treated like gods here. It's like, not a good idea to say that.
Yeah, we know what you're trying to say, but you just said it so horribly. Like, just avoid it. Don't say that. You just lost in the playoffs again. You didn't show up again. And then you're like, we're treated like gods. And then it's like, it's just like, we all, why did you do that? Right. And then like 2 days later, boom, it's like article pops up. It's somewhere like he's talking to somebody being like, I'm getting abused by people here. And it's like, okay, I'm not condoning any of this and all that's wrong, but like, which one is it? Are you a god or are you getting abused? And it's just this endless cycle of drama that we dealt with just 24/7. Like, I mean, we saw reports going into day one of camp and coming out of media availability from like Pierre LeBrun and Chris Johnson and these guys being like, this is the lightest mood we've seen the players and the staff and the PR, like everybody in. And I'm not going to solely pin it on one guy, but like, there's a correlation here. You know, it was tense. It was uncomfortable. It was cut and dry and super just awkward almost when you were dealing with that situation and talking about anything. And now it feels a little bit more relaxed. Like, players are more involved in the community, the media, everything like that. So, I mean, I didn't really answer the question about the play and on the ice, but it was more so just the media circus and like handling the situation off ice, I think created a cloud around what happened on the ice. And, you know, like the pressures that actually did come with the team playing. Like, that stuff was a real issue that took place. And that that one I will own and just say, I will not miss that from Mitch Marner. Well, like that I will not miss.
I think it's fair to say that both the Maple Leafs and Vegas Golden Knights are going to benefit off what happened. I think it's fair to say.
Yeah,
like I
sure.
think, you know, Craig Berube talked about it. He's tired of hearing the core four. Never has to hear that again. The unfortunate part is, I won't speak for you, but as a Canadian, like, yeah, you know, I want to see the cup come back to Canada, right? Mm-hmm. But when you look at Vegas, you look at Florida, you look at some of these teams, Tampa Bay as well, that are having success, featuring a lot of Canadian players, might I add, on those teams.
Yeah.
You know, I know people that are season ticket holders to the Vegas Golden Knights. If they lose, they're upset. But it's not going to like bother them the next day like it would for me and you if our teams lost. Like, it's not going to, like, they're not going to be walking around in the grocery store like, I can't believe this happened. Like, it's just like, I won't speak for them, but like it's just different, you know, the communities and stuff. So the thing is, I think Marner wants to be a big like market guy, but unfortunately, I think it's really going to work out for him being in a market. And the thing is, it's not like he went to a small market, so to speak, with like a bad team. Like, he went to a team that has a decent fan base and stuff, but he's going to play with Jack Eichel. He's playing with Barbashev. He's playing with Stone. Dorofeyev got a Hattie on their first night of the season. Like, I think he's not going to have to worry about kind of main character syndrome where if he doesn't get a goal tonight, they're going to lose. Versus I do think that was the case with the Leafs. Sometimes it was like, oh man, Marner was like a -1 and he didn't do anything. So the Maple Leafs look deep. We're going to get to the roster here. I just have a screenshot from Daily Faceoff. Want to give you a chance to just promote some of the stuff you're doing. You're doing all kinds of stuff, Leafs. I feel like pre-game, post-game as well. Yeah. And then pretty sweet, you're working with Jeff Merrick as well on his show. So maybe tell us what it's been like working with Jeff, and then, of course, talk about your Leaf stuff.
Yeah, it's been awesome. I'm part of the Nation Network here now full-time, so I'm on the Leafs Nation channel. I do pre-game videos, just breaking down lines, what we're looking at for the night, kind of expectations, how the two teams have matched up, and then do the post-game show where I'm lucky enough to have Jay Rosehill, our producer who's on the channel, Vic with us as well, Nick Alberga, Dave Pagnotta, Carter Hutton, all come through and kind of help break down every single game throughout the season. That's been a lot of fun. And then, I'm working with the Daily Faceoff as well and producing Jeff Merrick's show, The Sheet. So every day going live, just talking about everything that's going on around the NHL. It's kind of fun. It's not necessarily just like an individual game breakdowns. It's encompassing everything that's happening. One of the things that's been really cool, obviously Jeff is awesome to work with and insanely knowledgeable, which is fun, but just even the people that we've got to have on the show and I've got to connect with and work with and stuff has been a lot of fun. Like, we have Brian Burke is a regular on the show.
Nice.
Brian Burke was a guy that when I was a kid, I was like, he was the GM of my favorite team. So it was like almost in a way, like this idol here in the city of Toronto. And now just every week getting to work with him and, Pierre Maguire and those kinds of people coming through the show regularly. Just one of the things that's been awesome is just learning hockey. As much as I thought I knew already, just learning more and more every single day about the game, the inner workings, all of it. It's been a lot of fun. And I think one thing that Jeff and the people who come through our show do really well is kind of teaching and explaining that to other people as well. So it is a really, really cool experience.
Well, I'm happy for you, man. Congrats. And it's pretty cool that you get to do both sides of things, right? Like you're on air, you're on camera talking Leafs, but you also get the behind the scenes stuff. And when you're doing the behind the scenes stuff, as you mentioned, not only working with Jeff and being on that show, but the networking that you get. And I got to say, like, the hockey community is so receptive. Like, the media people, like everybody, like, sure, people are going to have egos, some people, but for the most part, people are really good. Like, you can ask someone to come on your show, they'll come on. You talk to someone, you reach out to them. Like, people are really good. And you know what I think it really is that hockey people just love hockey. Like, they'll talk hockey with anybody. Like, I think Pierre Maguire could be in a grocery store and somebody could start talking to him and he would stand there for an hour and talk about hockey with them. Like, that's the kind of guy that he seems to be.
100%. There was one time, and I don't think he minds telling you this, like, his son is playing pro hockey, and I sent Pierre a text after his son scored his first pro goal. And then Pierre and I went back and forth for a bit, just kind of like sharing videos back and forth and talking about like the guys on the team with his son and stuff, just unprompted. He's just going back and forth.
Nice.
Like, he's just so easy to talk to. And yeah, as you said, like, very willing to talk hockey.
He's doing a show daily with Jimmy Murphy, who I've done work with in the past. He's a great guy. And then, of course, he's on the post-game show with Tony Marinaro. Obviously, as a hardcore Habs fan, I'm watching all the post-game shows as well. I'll tell you, Tony's shows, I love Tony. I have more fun watching them after a win than after a loss because I just watched my team lose. And then when I watch those post-game shows, I feel like I'm watching a funeral. Like, yesterday wasn't as bad because the Habs, I thought, played okay, even though they lost. So it was a little not as bad. But at Zach Phil, right? On X. All right, guys, correct. Make sure you check him out. Make sure you hit the like button on this. We'll keep you for only a few more minutes here, Zach, if that's okay with you.
Yeah.
Go over the roster. Nyes on the left of Matthews and Michelli on the right. Tavares in the middle with McMahon or McMatthews on the left and Nylander on the right. Joshua, Domi, Robertson, and Lawrence, Waugh, and Yarncroke. Your thoughts on the lineup? We saw for game one. Any adjustments you'd make and anything that really surprised you? Because, again, looking at that bottom six, I'm impressed. Like, this is the first time I could say that I'm like, you know what? when the bottom six is out there for the Leafs, like they're not just going to be out there to crash and bang. Those guys, like, man, watching Waugh with the puck, how is anybody going to knock this guy off the puck? Like, he protects it very, very well.
Yeah, he had a play in the third period yesterday where he skated up the ice. I think he got it just inside the Leafs zone, skated straight through center, right up the middle into like 3 Habs players. And like, it's not like a world beating move that he had, but he just kind of pulled the puck back into him, toe dragged a little bit, and then hit Yarncroke out on the wing for Yarncroke to have a shooting chance. And it was like, that was so simple. Like, it wasn't anything special, but just that's what's been missing. And this we haven't had in the bottom 6. Like, that's the piece that's not been there. A big, strong, physical guy who can move the puck and then also has mitts and can make moves like that and get a shot off. Like, that's been missing. The lineup itself is interesting. I keep making the Matthias Michelli jokes, and we're all good without him and all that stuff. I don't know how this experiment is going to work because he lacks some defensive ability. I think with like 4 minutes left yesterday, we saw Calle Yarncroke go up there, and the announcers were like, well, yeah, it's because he's shown Craig Berube today, like, he's on and he deserves a spot with the first line guys. It was like, no. Like, sure, he's played well today, but I don't think Berube trusts him. Michelli, that is. Like, I don't know if he does. You're holding a lead late in the game, and next thing you know, Michelli's not out there in defensive zone draws and not really getting those kinds of minutes. So that is where I'm like, you got to replace the guy. The other thing with him is that's the only spot he fits. Like, Bobby McMahon is the grinder of the second line, right? He's the guy who gets the puck for the other two. He's the one who makes things happen. He's the one who goes to the net. Nyes is the one who does it on the first line. So Michelli, if he's not going to be producing points, like, what else does he do? He doesn't fit into that second line there for Bobby McMahon. He doesn't really fit into the third line role because he doesn't fit the identity of the bottom 6 that Craig Berube is trying to put together, where he's trying to make sure that they're heavy and physical and can get in the corners and win battles and cause problems on the forecheck. Like, he just doesn't have that identity. And then the current lineup, as you look at it right now, I think is fine. I wouldn't really make any adjustments. I think the guys you have in the spots that they're in make sense. The thing that I think you have the benefit of right now is that when Scott Laughton comes back, you're moving a lot of guys around. That creates a lot more, I don't know if depth or versatility is the way to put it, but like, you look, Waugh bumps up to the third line center, Domi moves over to your third line right wing, which automatically you're drastically better at center. Scott Laughton goes into your 4C, and he plays with Steven Lorenz, who he seems to have built some chemistry with. You brought up that Habs preseason game. They did it in a bunch of different preseason games that they
were
played,
line one in that game too. They were line
and
one.
They're playing with Easton Cowan. They're finding ways to connect with him, and I don't know if he'll get into the lineup. We'll figure that out. But those guys had some chemistry. If Nick Robertson plays, if Calle Yarncroke plays in the fourth line, it doesn't really matter. And then you look at Joshua, Waugh, and Domi, like, there's just a lot more identity, a lot, like, what their role is. So I wouldn't really change anything. I'm just hoping Laughton recovers soon so that I can like put my own mental theory here of like what I think this lineup would be to the test, because I want to see it in action. I like have this vision in my head that they're just hard to handle, lines 1 through 4, but I'm not really going to see it to the fullest until Laughton comes back and fits his way into this lineup.
It's a new look Maple Leafs team here this year. We'll see how they play. And of course, as I always tell my buddies, I'm sure you'll agree a little bit here. It's an 82 game preseason with this Leafs team. That's 100%. My line. 82 game preseason. All right. 2 questions into one. Number one, your thoughts on Easton Cowan, how they should manage him. I heard it's kind of a different thought from the GM as it is on the coach. And just overall, kind of a simple question. What makes this Leafs team different this year? 2 questions in one.
Okay. So with Easton Cowan, I think you're right. I think that there is a difference of opinions here between True Living and Berube. It's like a difference of opinions, but they're on the same page. Like, they both understand, but they're trying to utilize the player differently. I don't know that he's ready for the first line. And then, as I kind of just mentioned, I don't know where he fits in on the second or the third. That obvious spot would be the fourth line with those guys. And I don't think you want him playing 7, 8, 10 minutes. I think you're trying to bump him like 12, 14, 15 if you can get a game where he can do that and really start showing you something, in which case give this kid an opportunity in the Marlies. Like, I don't think you can hurt him by giving him that chance, by going down there, lighting it up. If that's the case, I'm not saying he will light it up, but like if he does go down there, play pro hockey, play against men. You're just playing junior hockey. Like, you're not playing against the same level of physicality, physical maturity, even mental maturity of those guys down there. Like, give him that chance to learn and develop. The other thing is, like, if he lights it up for 20 games in the AHL, you can call him up. Like, there's no rule that you can't. You can bring the guy up. Like, force a decision, force him to make a decision, I think is a good way to kind of go about it. Because if he's just going to jump into the fourth line and he's going to be a guy that plays and like somebody who's a warm body there and just isn't bad, he's not out of place, but he's not doing anything, I think that's a waste of his development and a waste of who
and some
he
might
is
say
as
the
a
minors
player.
is more physical, right? You can have a smaller guy like that deal with the physicality, and then when he comes to the NHL, he's used to it.
Exactly. I 100% agree. And then he's like, got it at least figured out, can kind of be like, okay, I know what this pace is like or what it's like to get absolutely mashed by some 33-year-old guy who has 4 kids and, is just rode the bus here and had grilled cheese sandwiches the whole way. Like, yeah, it's just, he's going to have to learn that. And I don't think it's a bad idea for him to do and get that experience first. The team overall, I expect a step back, but it's kind of a weird year for predictions. Like, I did the Cats and Rats podcast with those guys, and they're asking me, like, what do you think is going to be the standings? And we're kind of going through it, and I'm like, I think Tampa's good. I don't think they're, like, elite. Florida loses Barkov. Florida is missing Kachuk until January. What does that mean for the team? Like, I can't really quantify that. And then I look at Montreal. They're definitively better, in my opinion. I don't think Ottawa really is like better than what they were last year, unless the pieces that they had in place already take a step. I don't think that they added guys around them necessarily who kind of elevate the team that much. Spence is a different story. I think he's a good player, but outside of that, I don't think that they did too much like damage in the summer. And then, I mean, Boston's one of those weird teams you kind of look around at. Detroit's going to be on the outside, like on a team that was on the outside looking in, who's trying to make that push. Like, what the hell is the Atlantic?
I know.
In which case, I don't know where the Leafs fit. I don't know how many points they get because I do think they took a step back, but some of these teams I feel like also took steps back. So do you get points off of them? Like, do you just have an Atlantic division that nobody is really unreal? Entirely possible. The only thing is getting ready for game 1 of the playoffs. Just make the playoffs. Like, that's what I care about.
It's so
like,
true. It's so
like
true.
You said, the 82 game preseason, that's what it is. Every year that I've been covering the team here now has been more and more tiresome. Like, I'll just be honest, it is, because you go through the schedule. Like, at first, when I started doing the post games, I'm like, every game, like, you're on fire, like coming in doing the post game show. And then like last year, it's like late January and they lose a 2-1 game and it's like a Sunday at 1 p.m. and people are losing their minds. And I'm like, what does this mean for the playoffs? Like, you lost to the Islanders on a Sunday. Who cares? Like, what are we talking about?
So yesterday we had the Jays game on one TV, the Habs and Leafs game on the other, right? And I'm such a diehard Habs guy, and I'll be real, like, my buddies are diehard Leafs fans, but they cared way more about the Jays game than the Habs game.
100%.
Like, I'm a Jays fan too. Don't get me wrong. Like, I love the Jays, but it's because they're like, man, like my team, the Leafs have been good for so many years. It's not like I don't expect them to beat the Habs. And I was like, okay, yeah, no offense taken, but they don't care as much as I do about early on. Because for me, and I know it's true, I'm not going to hide it. Like, October and November is way more important to my team than it is for your team. It's just a fact. So you could, if it wasn't for your work, you could, as a fan, miss 2 months of the season and then tune in January and be like, we're going to finish top 3 in the division. So as a Habs fan, I'll say, in closing, Detroit, Buffalo, obviously Boston, it worries me. Like, because some people think it might be the exact same teams, just maybe in a different order from the Atlantic, like Ottawa, Montreal, what order do they finish? Then Toronto, Florida, and Tampa, what order do they finish? But then part of me is worried, like, is Buffalo going to be just still trash because of their, like, sloppy play? Is Detroit just not going to be able to take that next jump? Because if one of those teams somehow does take that next jump, then my Habs are screwed. I think. I don't the Sens probably aren't going to miss. So it's kind of crazy. Then Boston wins their first game 3-1. I don't know. The Atlantic is going to be interesting. It's going to be a lot of upsets, I think, in the Atlantic.
I would agree with that. I'll give the Habs the edge over the Sens. I will.
I like it.
I like the Habs team more than I like the Sens. And also, Boston, yes, same page. I also just took a step back last year or the summer, and looked at the Boston roster, and I was like, they still got pieces. Yeah, they got Lindholm, McAvoy, Pasternak, Swayman, who they've just they've got guys. It's not like they're where they were a couple of years ago, where you knew they were going to be top of the division or near the top of the division, but they could just piece it together. Is their roster really that much worse than what's going on in Detroit or Ottawa? I don't think so. Buffalo, for me, I'll just say this: it's going to be a shot across, and anybody who's a Sabres fan is going to be not too happy about this. I have zero interest in saying they're going to be better. No, they're not. Until they prove me that they're going to be better, I'm almost auto writing them off. I have no faith.
And it's not even their scoring either. It's their defense. They could put up 4 goals. They're going to lose 6-4.
Well, you want an example of what is going on there and why people have just no trust and should have no trust. They signed Georgiev, however you say it, to a contract, a legit contract. They played Devin Levi for 3 periods in the preseason, and then they waived Georgiev.
Yeah.
Why? What were you doing? What was the point of that? I don't know. There's some decisions that go on I just don't understand. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what they're thinking. I think there's some confusion by the people involved. I don't trust that organization. So until they show me that they're good, bad. They stink.
I keep on saying this too. If you're going to be bad, be young and bad.
Yeah.
And that's what I was saying, at least to myself, about the Habs over the past few years. Develop and be young, develop and be young. And this year, average age per team, they're the youngest team again. But the Sabres, it's almost like they're in a rebuild that has to rebuild again. Same thing with Detroit. I think the biggest problem with Detroit is that the Wiser plan, or whatever they're calling it, it got rushed.
Yeah,
I don't even think they should have brought Patty Kane on the team, honestly. I felt like they just rushed it. They brought too many vets in too fast. Tarasenko's now with the Wild. They were we've got all these young guys. Now let's try and make the playoffs and bring in some vets. And then the vets didn't do well, and then they got screwed.
That's a good point. Mm-hmm.
You need to have younger guys. I don't know. You need to have key vets, but I felt I don't know. Okay, you give me confidence now. Based on this talk, screw the Sabres, screw the Red Wings. Let's get the exact same order next year. All right, man. Thanks a lot for joining me. I appreciate it. Hopefully have you back on again. At Zach Phil on X, and we'll be talking soon, man. Thanks.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it, and I do believe in the Habs this year. I do.
All right, go Habs.
Unfortunately.
See you, man. Thank you.
See ya.
All right, guys. Zach Phillips. You can find him, of course, at Zach Phil. Leafs Nation, of course, he is the producer of The Sheet with Jeff Merrick. Really appreciate him joining me. And of course, we are back tomorrow night. Every game on the board podcast live on the pre-scout, going over every single game on Saturday. If there's a reporter or a team or a podcaster, someone you want me to have on to cover, we'll do so. But I'm going to have all kinds of people on from the big teams and the big market teams like the New York Rangers, the Montreal Canadiens, the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Oilers, Blackhawks. Working on getting someone actually from the San Jose Sharks, because of course they got so many young up and coming players. So looking forward to that. But that will do it for tonight's show. Please hit the like button if you enjoyed. We'll see you next time right here on the Pre-Scout.